came up with 4 different alternatives for consideration by the Common Council. Alternative number 1 was to take no action. The no action alternative would result in the continuation of several undesirable trends in the city of Oneida. These include erosion of the economic viability of the downtown commercial district, continued zoning ordinance deficiencies and ambiguities, and a lack of economic activity and employment. The permitted uses in downtown commercial would remain the same, effectively closing the downtown to small businesses and artisans who could manufacture and sell their goods in a downtown storefront. The loss of small businesses may continue with no changes to the zoning ordinance. Home businesses would continue to be allowed in R3 zones only, effectively prohibiting the establishment of internet-based and other suitable home businesses in the remainder of the city's residential districts. Minor professional offices would remain at their current size and be difficult to market in some of the larger vacant structures in R3 zones. This would limit improvements to the buildings and limit the positive effect these businesses could have in residential neighborhoods. Alternative number 2. This option would amend the zoning ordinance to allow home businesses in all residential properties. The proposed amendments would establish requirements for home businesses that will ensure protection and maintenance of the residential character of the neighborhoods. The increase in maximum number of occupants for the minor professional office definition would encourage more professional offices in the larger structures in the R3 zone and improve the viability of the neighborhood. It would also allow for growth of a healthy business environment as well as the individual business while protecting and maintaining the residential settings. Alternative 2 would also include language changes to correct and clarify the current zoning ordinance relative to definitions, exterior storage units, corrections to the sign requirements, off-street parking and loading, residential floor area requirements, fencing, and 2 changes to the site plan review ordinance to correct uses that can be waived and to correct the list of zoning districts. This alternative would leave major issues of downtown uses and increased uses in neighborhood commercial zones unresolved. Alternative 3. This modification would amend the zoning ordinance to allow the addition of light manufacturing in support of retail operations conducted from the premises in the downtown commercial zone. It is expected that this change would support local artists and artisans in the downtown, giving them a studio incorporated into a retail outlet. It will also allow businesses that can locate downtown to take advantage of the larger buildings for light manufacturing and still have a retail presence there. This alternative would also include additional types of housing units allowed in the neighborhood commercial zone. This would address the need for more options in our current housing stock. As the population of Oneida ages, there's a greater need for housing options that are more in demand by senior citizens and empty nesters. Duplexes, townhouses, and condominiums would be added to the types of residential units permitted in the neighborhood commercial zone. Alternative 3 would also include the language changes and corrections as in Alternative 2. This alternative would leave the major issue of increased need for home businesses unresolved. Alternative 4, adoption of the proposed amendments. This alternative achieves the goals and objectives of the Common Council. It would provide people the ability to work at home and run their businesses in a residential setting by expanding home businesses to all residential zones. It will allow increased economic development potential in the downtown commercial zone by expanding the permitted uses to include light manufacturing when associated with retail. It will increase the ability to market R3 structures for minor professional offices, language changes to streamline the development review process, and changes to correct and clarify the current language to improve the functionality of the zoning ordinance, making direction and enforcement clearer and more well-defined. This preferred alternative of the proposed amendments would address the Common Council's goals and objectives and would further the goals and recommendations of the 2002 Downtown Strategic Plan, the 2007 Economic Development Strategic Plan, and the 2005 City of Oneida Comprehensive Plan. Adoption of the proposed amendments would enhance and support the orderly development of the City of Oneida. Each new business and/or expansion of a current business would be subject to an individual seeker, which is the State Environmental Quality Review. This draft generic environmental impact statement does not replace further seeker reviews for any new action which may arise as a result of adoption of the proposed amendments. Each proposed new business would still be required to follow the city's site plan review ordinance or subdivision ordinance, depending on the type of project. Each individual seeker review will take a hard look at any and all potential environmental impacts of a given project on both the neighborhood and the city as a whole. The city's site plan review ordinance and subdivision ordinance will remain in effect. With both of these ordinances, the City of Oneida Planning Commission reviews each individual project. The Planning Commission has the authority to impose conditions to safeguard neighborhoods, both residential and commercial. Controls typically used by the Planning Commission relate to traffic, ingress and egress, parking, drainage, stormwater management, water and sewer designs, open space and recreation, exterior lighting, noise, odor, signage, hours of operation, landscaping, outdoor storage, and aesthetic issues. Expanding uses in the downtown commercial zone to allow light manufacturing with a retail component would mitigate any loss of smaller businesses that revert to home businesses. It would also help fill any increased vacancies due to other causes in the downtown area. Potential adverse impacts will be mitigated in several ways as spelled out in the proposed amendments. The proposed amendments to allow home businesses to operate in all residential zones include several mitigation measures. They set out requirements for home businesses that will ensure protection of the residential character of the neighborhoods. Both operational regulations and site-related standards have been proposed to cover a variety of issues. Changes in the definition of minor professional office would not affect the current regulations that a business will be subject to upon developing a new location in an R3 zone. During site plan review, the Planning Commission will examine traffic generation, ingress and egress, off-street parking, signage, landscaping, and all other issues as required. Language clarifications and corrections would improve the development process, enhance understanding of the regulations, and improve enforcement efforts. The proposed amendments would not result in a significant commitment of natural resources. The proposed changes focus reinvestment in the existing built environment with some controlled new development intended to improve the local economy and broaden housing choices for residents. The addition of light manufacturing businesses with related retail stores in the downtown commercial zone would add growth to the downtown area. It is expected that the advent of the creative class would fill some vacancies in the housing stock, as well as create a demand for new construction. The addition of duplexes, townhouses, and condominiums in the neighborhood commercial zone should result in new residential construction, but at a rate that the city can easily absorb. Changing the definition of minor professional office would also make better use of larger buildings and enhance the neighborhoods while creating the opportunity for new jobs. This is a brief summary of the proposed amendments and the issues that are discussed in the draft generic environmental impact statement. As Doug said earlier, copies are available from the city clerk, or you can read it on our website.